So what if the dream of, quitting your 9 to 5 and just sitting on a beach for 40 years is, well, actually a mathematical curse?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds completely counterintuitive, right? But the data we're unpacking today, it totally shifts the paradigm of what financial independence actually looks like in practice.
Right. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are analyzing this incredibly insightful video from the channel Zero One by Zeroda. It's titled Escape the 9 to 5 TRP.
Which is such a massive topic. I mean, so many people are obsessed with that
Yeah,
idea.
absolutely. If you have ever stared out the window on a Tuesday afternoon, dreaming about just walking into your boss's office and handing in your resignation, this is definitely for you.
Because today we are actually looking at the hard data to find your exact retirement number.
Yeah, because the ultimate fear for anyone who wants to quit the rat race isn't just, getting bored.
No, not at all.
It's the terrifying prospect of pulling the plug, living off your savings for like 10 years, and then waking up at age 50 with an empty bank account, right?
Yeah.
And you're forced to go beg for an entry-level job.
Exactly. That is the central tension of early retirement. You're transitioning from a life where you accumulate wealth to a life where you constantly drain it.
This is scary.
It's very scary. If you drain it too fast, the well runs dry. So to prevent that, you need a highly calibrated mechanism to manage those withdrawals.
Because you can't just shove a massive pile of cash under your mattress and pull from it whenever you want to buy groceries.
Right. I mean, inflation would just eat that mattress cash alive.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
To figure out the ultimate escape plan, we first need to understand the mechanical engine that makes living off your investments even possible.
Yeah, the core mechanism.
Because most people listening are probably familiar with an SIP, right?
Yeah.
A systematic investment plan.
Sure. Where you automatically put a portion of your paycheck into the market every month to build wealth.
Exactly. But the engine we are talking about today is the SWP.
Right, a systematic withdrawal plan. It is basically the fundamental mechanism of retirement.
So how does that actually work in practice?
Well, with an SWP, you instruct your mutual fund to sell a specific amount of units every single month on a set date and deposit that cash right into your checking account.
It just generates a predictable, steady stream of income, like a salary.
Exactly like a salary. But the real beauty of it is what happens to the money you don't withdraw.
Because you're leaving most of it in there.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You are only selling a tiny fraction of your portfolio each month. The vast majority of your corpus just stays invested in the market.
So it continues to compound and grow.
Right. You are averaging out your exit over time, which gives the bulk of your money the opportunity to outpace both inflation and, well, your own spending habits.
Okay, but that brings us to the most dangerous variable in the entire equation, which is the rate of withdrawal.
Oh, yeah. The withdrawal rate is everything.
Like, how much can you actually tell that mutual fund to give you every month without accidentally bleeding the account completely dry?
And to answer that, the Zero One video takes us back in time a bit.
Yeah, before we even look at the modern Indian market, we have to look at this cornerstone financial study from 1994.
Right. In 1994, there was an American financial planner named William Bengen, and he decided to mathematically solve this exact retirement withdrawal problem.
Because before him, people were just guessing.
Right. Basically, yeah. He realized that assuming a flat average return for the stock market was dangerously misleading.
Because the market doesn't just go up a steady 8% every single year.
Exactly. So he looked at 75 years of actual historical market data going all the way back to 1919.
And that data set is basically a horror show of economic disasters.
It really is.
I mean, he's looking at the Great Depression, World War II, massive oil shocks, stagflation, just the absolute worst economic conditions of the 20th century.
Right. He essentially wanted to stress test the worst case scenarios. He asked, if someone retired on the literal eve of the Great Depression, could their portfolio survive?
And what did he find?
Well, through all of that turbulent data, Bengen was looking for a safe withdrawal rate for a standard 30-year retirement, and his conclusion became legendary.
The famous rule.
Yes. He found that if a retiree withdraws exactly 4% of their initial portfolio value in the first year, and then simply adjusts that specific dollar amount for inflation every year after, the corpus will almost never deplete over a 30-year period.
Okay, let's slow the math down and ground that from your perspective as the listener. 4% sounds incredibly small.
It does. It's a very conservative number.
Like, if you have managed to save 1 crore, the 4% rule says you can only take out 4 lakhs that first year.
Right, which is roughly 33,000 rupees a month.
And for someone retiring, I mean, 33,000 rupees might cover the absolute basics, but it certainly doesn't leave much room for luxury.
No, it doesn't. It requires a substantial initial corpus to generate a comfortable lifestyle, which is why it feels so restrictive to people.
But the math is solid.
It is. The 0-1 video actually supplements Bengen's findings with the famous Trinity University study.
Right, they looked at portfolios mixed with equities and bonds.
Yeah, and they found that if you withdraw at a highly conservative 3% rate, your success rate of not running out of money is essentially 100%.
Which is amazing. And at 4%.
At 4%, it drops only slightly. It remains incredibly safe.
But if you push it just a little bit higher to try and squeeze out, a better lifestyle.
The math turns violently against you.
Wow.
Violently.
Yeah, the Trinity study showed that at withdrawal rates of 5, 10, or 12%, the chances of completely emptying your account before you die rise drastically.
So the 4% mark really was the undisputed sweet spot.
Exactly. It became the absolute anchor of the global financial independence movement. I have to push back on this, though. I mean, we are talking about an American study from 1994.
True.
The global economy has fundamentally shifted since then. And we're sitting here looking at the Indian market in 2026.
It's a very different landscape.
Right. Applying a 1994 U.S. formula to modern India feels, well, dangerously out of context, like using a cassette tape in a modern sports car.
That's a fair point.
Because inflation's different here, market volatility is different. Does this actually work for you today, or is it just imported financial folklore?
Well, the researchers at 0-1 anticipated that exact skepticism.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. To prove it works in a modern context, they subjected the 1994 rule to a brutal 26-year stress test using real-world Indian market data.
Okay, from what years?
From the year 2000 to the year 2026.
Let's dig into that data.
Right.
How was this stress test set up?
Imagine you start with a corpus of exactly 1 crore in the year 2000.
Okay, 1 crore.
They placed this imaginary money into a real-world balanced advantage fund.
And just a quick refresher, a balanced advantage fund is a mutual fund that actively shifts its allocation between equity and debt, right? Depending on how expensive the stock market is.
Exactly. It manages risk for you. So you apply the 4% rule. You withdraw 4 lakhs in year 1.
Which is about 33,000 rupees a month.
Right.
But wait, 33,000 rupees in the year 2000 buys a lot more groceries than 33,000 rupees in 2020. You have to factor in the rising cost of living.
Which is the most crucial part of the mechanism. You must increase your withdrawal amount every single year to maintain your purchasing power.
Otherwise, you're just getting poorer every year.
Exactly. For this stress test, they assumed a constant inflation rate of 6%. So every year, your monthly withdrawal gets 6% larger.
Okay, so we start pulling out the money in the year 2000. But hold on, the early 2000s in India were pretty brutal.
They were rough.
You've got the dot-com bubble bursting right as this hypothetical person retires, and then that's followed by the Kitan Parekh stock market scam. If this retiree is pulling out cash while their portfolio is actively bleeding from a market crash, the math has to break, right?
I mean, it is terrifying in the moment. In year 1, right after retiring, that initial 1 crore drops down to 89.5 lakhs.
Wow. You just retired, you're relying on this money to eat, and your life savings has already shrunk by over 10%.
Yeah. The psychological urge to panic and sell everything must be overwhelming.
I would be sweating bullets.
It requires absolute nerves of steel. But if you hold the line, the math protects you.
Because of the remaining money?
Right. Because you are only withdrawing 4%, 96% of your money is still in the market. That remaining 96% acts like a massive sale. When the market eventually recovers, that sale catches the wind.
That makes sense.
So by year 9, we hit the 2008 global financial crisis. Markets are crashing everywhere.
Another disaster.
But because your money stayed invested and compounded heavily during the bull runs of the mid-2000s, your corpus going into the 2008 crash is actually sitting at 3 crores.
Wait, really? So even with the 2008 crash happening, you're still 3 times wealthier than when you started in 2000.
Exactly.
That really illustrates the power of that remaining capital catching the upside.
It's massive. So let's fast forward to the next major shock. Year 20, the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right. March 2020, everything tanks.
But by year 20, despite the massive global panic and market lockdowns, your corpus had grown to 17 crores.
17 crores?
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, you haven't just been taking out 33,000 rupees a month this whole time.
Oh, right. The inflation adjustment.
Yeah, you've been increasing your withdrawals by 6% every single year to fight inflation.
Which brings us to the grand reveal. It is 2026. 26 years of dot-com crashes, global recessions, and a pandemic.
Yep.
Where does the portfolio sit?
By year 26, the corpus has grown to an astonishing 48.8 crores.
That is insane. From 1 crore to 48.8 crores.
And over those 2.5 decades, you have successfully withdrawn a total of 2.36 crores to fund your life.
The engine undeniably works. The compounding simply outpaces the withdrawals.
It absolutely does.
But wait, whenever we talk about huge numbers like 48 crores or pulling out millions over decades, we have to talk about taxes.
Right. The tax man always comes collecting.
Because if I'm generating a monthly salary from this SWP, am I just getting hammered by income tax?
Actually, no. The way mutual funds are taxed in India makes the SWP one of the most efficient systems possible.
Really? How so?
You do not pay tax on the entire amount you withdraw. You only pay tax on the realized capital gains.
The profit.
Exactly, just the profit.
Let me make sure I understand the mechanics of this on a per unit basis.
Sure.
If I tell my fund to give me my 33,000 rupees,
Mm-hmm.
they have to sell a certain number of mutual fund units to get that cash, right?
Right.
And part of the value of those units is the money I originally invested my principal, and the rest of the value is the growth or the profit.
Yep.
So I'm only taxed on the profit portion.
Correct. The principal portion of your withdrawal is completely tax-free because it's money you already paid income tax on before you invested it.
Oh, that makes total sense.
And the profit portion is treated as long-term capital gains, or LTCG. This assumes you've held the equity-oriented fund for over a year, of course.
Okay, and what are the rates for that?
Under current tax rules, the first 1.25 lakhs of your long-term capital gains every single year is completely exempt from tax.
Wow, so a massive chunk of your early retirement withdrawals is shielded entirely.
Exactly. And anything above that 1.25 lakh threshold is taxed at a flat rate of just 12.5%.
That's incredibly low.
Especially when you compare it to the alternative. Like if you kept that 1 crore in a conservative fixed deposit just to be safe,
What happens then?
the interest you earn every year on an FD is added to your total income and taxed at your standard slab rate.
So if you're in the highest bracket, you are losing 30% or more of your returns to taxes immediately.
Yes. The SWP route isn't just a withdrawal strategy, it's a profound tax shielding strategy.
Okay, the taxes make sense. But I have another skeptical angle on this whole thing.
Bring it on.
In that stress test, the researchers used a specific balanced advantage fund.
Right.
What if that specific mutual fund just got incredibly lucky? What if the fund manager was a genius at timing the market?
It's a valid concern.
We can't build a retirement plan hoping we pick the one lucky manager, right?
No, and the 01 video addresses that exact survivorship bias.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they ran a second scenario to completely eliminate the element of fund manager luck.
Okay, how?
They tested a highly conservative index portfolio. To simulate a cautious retiree who wants to avoid volatility, they built a portfolio that was 60% debt instruments and only 40% equity.
So tracking the broad NFTY 50 total returns index for the equity part?
Exactly.
So this is a very, boring portfolio. Heavy on stable debt, light on the stock market, no superstar fund manager picking individual winning stocks.
Just following the baseline market average.
And how did that hold up over the same 26 years?
What's fascinating here is that the early years are still nerve-wracking. It dropped to 92 lakhs initially.
Which is still a drop, but less severe than the previous fund.
Right. It had to survive the demonetization shock in year 16, where the corpus dipped but still sat at a very healthy 2.8 crores.
Okay.
It weathered COVID in year 21, sitting at 4.5 crores. And by year 26, this ultra-conservative, boring portfolio finished with a final corpus of 6.7 crores.
That's 6.7 crores while still providing the inflation-adjusted income the whole time.
Yes. A total of 2.3 crores was safely withdrawn over those 26 years.
That is wild.
Your yearly withdrawals steadily grew from 4 lakhs in year 1 to 17 lakhs a year by the end.
And it still grew to 6.7 crores.
Even with a debt-heavy portfolio, navigating through multiple historical crises without any active stock picking, the math held up perfectly.
Okay, consider me convinced. The 4% rule is vindicated. It works even in the worst conditions.
It really does.
But human nature is tricky, right?
Oh, always.
If 4% works so brilliantly and my corpus is growing to 6 crores or 48 crores, why shouldn't I withdraw 6% or 8%?
And here's the trap.
Because, why not fund a few extra vacations or buy a nicer car if there's literally crores of money just sitting there?
That temptation is exactly what leads to the most dangerous zones of retirement planning. The SWP engine works beautifully, but it is incredibly sensitive to human error.
How sensitive are we talking?
Well, if you tweak the withdrawal dial just a little bit, the entire system collapses.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Let's look at that conservative NFTY50 scenario. The final corpus at a 4% withdrawal rate was 6.7 crores.
Right.
If you move your withdrawal rate up to just 6%, that final corpus plummets to 4.5 crores.
That's a huge drop just for 2% more income.
And if you push your luck to an 8% withdrawal rate, the corpus is completely exhausted.
Wait, exhausted, like zero.
You hit absolute zero, you are left with nothing.
Just moving the dial from 4 to 8% destroys a multi-crore safety net. Why is the math so violently unforgiving?
Because of the biggest hidden risk in early retirement. It's a concept known as sequence of returns risk.
Sequence of returns. Let's break the mechanics of that down.
Sure.
Because if I'm just investing money every month into an SIP, it doesn't really matter what order the market returns happen in, right?
Right. A bad year followed by a good year leaves you with the exact same final number as a good year followed by a bad year.
But when you shift from accumulating to withdrawing,
The sequence of those returns becomes a matter of life and death for your portfolio.
okay, give me an example.
Let's say you need a fixed amount of 50,000 rupees a month. If the market is in a bull run, the unit price of your mutual fund is high.
So you only have to sell a handful of units to generate that 50,000 rupees.
Exactly. But
I see where this is going. If the market crashes the exact year I retire, the unit price drops by, say, 50%.
Right.
So to get that exact same 50,000 rupees to pay my rent, I am forced to sell twice as many units. I'm cannibalizing my own ownership state.
Exactly. You are permanently destroying your future earning potential.
It's like being lost at sea during a freezing storm, right? You need to burn wood from your own ship to stay warm.
I like this analogy.
Normally, you just burn the spare timber in the cargo hold. But if a massive storm hits on day one and ruins your reserves, you have to start ripping planks off the actual hull of the ship just to survive the night.
Yeah.
By the time the weather clears, your ship is too structurally damaged to sail anywhere. You're sunk before the journey even begins.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. If you sell too many units when prices are at rock bottom, you simply don't own enough units anymore for the eventual market recovery to matter.
The sale is gone.
The sale is gone. A corpus that you painstakingly planned to last for 40 years could vanish in 7 simply because you got unlucky with a market crash in your very first year of retirement and your withdrawal rate was too high to absorb the blow.
Man, this perfectly highlights another massive trap the video mentioned, the real versus nominal growth error.
Oh, this is a big one.
Because people look at historical data and see that the Indian market has returned, let's say, 12% on average.
Right.
So they do the mental math and think, great, I'll withdraw 10% and my money will still grow by 2%. I'm safe.
Which is a fatal mathematical error. They're completely forgetting inflation.
Right.
A 12% market return is your nominal growth. It's what looks good on paper. But if inflation is running at 5 or 6%, you have to subtract that to find your actual purchasing power.
So your real growth is only 6%.
Exactly. That real growth rate is the absolute true speed limit of your portfolio.
So if your real growth is only 6% and you withdraw 8%.
You are ripping the planks off the hull. You are eating your principal. That is why the withdrawal rate must stay safely tucked into that 4% pocket.
Okay, so we know the mechanics of the engine, we know the math works, and we know exactly how a high withdrawal rate or a bad sequence of returns can sink the ship. But human lives don't exist in a theoretical vacuum. If you're sitting at your desk right now trying to calculate your exit, how do you actually pinpoint your exact number?
Well, the video grounds this with a very relatable case study. We meet a guy named Nikhil.
Yeah, Nikhil.
He's 30 years old, lives in a metro city, and his goal is to retire in exactly 5 years at age 35.
That is an ambitious target. How do we figure out his number?
Currently, Nikhil's monthly expenses are 50,000 rupees. But we cannot base his retirement target on today's expenses.
Right, we have to calculate the future value of his lifestyle, factoring in inflation for those 5 years until he actually quits.
Because 5 years from now, rent is higher, food is more expensive, utilities cost more.
Yeah.
So assuming a standard 6% inflation rate over 5 years, his monthly need at retirement won't be 50,000. It'll be roughly 66,900 rupees per month.
So roughly 8.02 lakhs annually.
Right.
That is the target income he needs his portfolio to generate on day one of his retirement.
Now we simply work the math backwards. We apply the conservative 4% withdrawal rule. We assume a realistic post-tax return of 8%.
Completely ignoring those fantasy projections of 12 or 13%.
Exactly. Keep it conservative. And we factor in that persistent 6% inflation moving forward. Plugging those variables into any standard retirement calculator will give Nikhil the exact corpus he needs to accumulate by age 35 to safely pull the trigger.
Which is amazing to have a concrete goal. But here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Oh yeah, the pivot.
Yeah. After laying out all of this hardcore pragmatic math, the 0-1 video makes a massive pivot. They move completely away from mathematics and dive deep into psychology.
It is a profound pivot, honestly.
They bring up this fascinating observation about A.R. Rahman, the legendary composer.
Yeah, they pose a very simple question to the audience. Does A.R. Rahman have enough money in his bank account to last his entire life?
Obviously, yes. The man reached financial independence decades ago. And the video points out it's the exact same for Shah Rukh Khan, Virat Kohli, Sachin Tendulkar. They all hit their 4% number a long, long time ago.
Long ago.
Yet they still work relentlessly.
Yeah.
A.R. Rahman is in the studio every single day producing music. Virat Kohli is still grinding on the pitch. Why haven't they walked into their boss's office and quit?
Because nobody who is truly wealthy actually wants to retire in the traditional sense of doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
The video argues that sitting on a beach doing nothing is actually a curse. Human beings need purpose.
This completely flips the script on that 9 to 5 Tuesday afternoon fantasy we started the show with.
It really does. The actual goal of calculating your retirement number, of meticulously setting up your SWP and battling through market crashes, it isn't to buy a permanent vacation.
What is it then?
It is to build an impenetrable money safety net. It gives you the option of being free.
It's about removing the paralyzing fear of survival.
Precisely. When you are no longer terrified of how to pay your rent or how to feed your family, you can be completely fearless in your pursuits.
That's a powerful shift in mindset.
And furthermore, the video drops a hard truth for the listener. Your best, most valuable asset is not actually your compounding mutual fund portfolio.
No.
No, it's your own skill. If you continually improve, data shows people typically hit their peak earning years and peak intellectual output between the ages of 45 and 55.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So if you retire at 35 to literally just sit on a couch, you are leaving your greatest potential completely unrealized.
Man, so we have taken quite a journey today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We started by decoding William Bengen's legendary 4% rule from 1994. We proved its mechanical resilience in the modern Indian market over 26 volatile years.
We saw how that remaining corpus acts as a sail during market recoveries.
Exactly. We identified the silent portfolio-killing trap of the sequence of returns risk and learned why we can never, ever confuse nominal returns with real inflation-adjusted growth.
Absolutely vital.
And finally, we completely redefined what the endgame of retirement actually means.
And that redefinition is perhaps the most crucial takeaway of all. I mean, if your skills are truly your greatest appreciating asset, maybe the goal of financial freedom isn't to build a portfolio large enough to escape your work.
Yeah?
Instead, the ultimate flex is using that safety net to take massive, fearless risks in your work. You know, pursuing projects you never would have dared to touch if you were strictly working to survive paycheck to paycheck.
Which leaves us with a fascinating question to consider.
Let's hear it.
If the mechanics of the 4% rule become universally understood, and an entire generation successfully builds this safety net by age 40, what happens to society?
Oh, that's a big question.
Right. We currently live in an economy driven by a labor force working primarily to survive. If millions of people suddenly shift to only working on things they are deeply passionate about, taking massive creative and entrepreneurial risks because their baseline survival is mathematically guaranteed, do we see an unprecedented global renaissance of art and innovation?
Or does the traditional infrastructure of the economy simply collapse when nobody has to do the boring jobs anymore?
Exactly. It's something to chew on as you grab a spreadsheet, find a good calculator, and figure out your own fearless number. Focus on building your skills and make sure your well is deep enough that you never have to worry about it running dry. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.